This is the Fearless Finance Podcast with Amy Ross. Amy and the team at Gold Shield Wealth are dedicated to helping adults plan for and manage the hurdles they may face on their journey to retirement. Get more, including contact information in the show notes. Now, Fearless Finance with financial advisor Amy Ross.
My name is Mark Owens. I want to talk about some misconceptions. We've had that conversation over the past couple of weeks, but one of the hurdles for people nearing retirement isn't really saving enough. It's trusting that they can actually use what they save. I want you to hear this clip from financial author Bonnie Trickle, who tells Morningstar she compares it to the layers of an income cake.
Helping people think about, at least I've got these couple of layers of my cake that create some certainty for me. A little bit of Social Security, a little bit of that annuity component in a retirement plan or otherwise. It does provide some safety and security to be able to feel like, okay, at least I know I'm going to have this much and I'm going to be okay. And it creates that permission to spend. And I think that can really be useful for folks when they start to think about, it's going to be okay to retire. It's going to be okay to spend a little bit.
Amy, I want to focus on what she was talking about with annuities, especially because there's still confusion that annuities are an all or nothing decision. So how do you help people understand that they're often just a piece of that entire plan?
Well, most times they are just a piece if they're used properly. To create a true retirement budget that someone can go out and just spend in confidence, because what she said, the one thing that she said in the recording that you just played that really stuck out at me is that people need permission. They're afraid. And so they want to sit down and make sure that the money that they're spending isn't going to, be detrimental to them. So with annuities, there are annuities that have income streams on them. And I use those as accompaniments. I can't talk today, sorry. But when you think about your income stream, I like to create a paycheck bucket of money and a playcheck bucket of money. And so I oftentimes will use income annuities to supplement the lack of what Social Security or a pension doesn't give, so that each month when they go spend that money, they know, well, if they blew it on something stupid, they know the next month that it will come back. And there oftentimes I'll create future income annuities, that are, I like to say, cooking on the back burner for inflation and those type of things. But what I've noticed is that people, when they have the income feature or the income part figured out to where no matter what happens with the market and everything else, that at least that is secure and dependable, they end up enjoying spending the money a lot more, which makes perfect sense when you think about it. You don't want to spend money that you think you may need later down the road.
And that's the playcheck bucket.
That's the playcheck bucket. The playcheck bucket is more of an a la carte, but I also like to intentionally invest money in ways to know that, hey, this money is where we're going to fund our cruises for the next 5 years. This is how, we're going to take out of this or that. But the income portion, the income that keeps your lights on and the water running through your faucets and your insurance and all of those things, oftentimes I do use fixed index annuities with income riders to complete the circle of the income that's needed to be able to spend confidently.
One thing here on Fearless Finance with Amy Ross, we don't make guarantees, but I'm going to sound like a hypocrite right here. An annuity is an opportunity for guaranteed income in retirement. How can you guarantee me, Amy, that I'm going to continue to get that paycheck after I clock out with an annuity?
Well, you got to understand, insurance companies know what they're doing, and they will always come out ahead. So the way, with an income annuity, how it works is it's not built to grow your principal. It's not built to provide you interest like a CD would. What it's built to do is to basically use your money first, but then when your money's gone, they have to keep sending it even if you're 120 years old. So knowing that, it takes about, on average, 14 to 16 years to where you're down to the insurance company's money. You've used all of yours and you're down to there. And so think about it. They've been investing all that money for all those years and keeping the proceeds. So you really don't get your profits until later on. But again, it's dependable. We don't want everything in our retirement portfolios to be subject to market conditions and all of that. You want boring, dependable, something that'll just be there.
As we're talking about an annuity here, let me give that number real quick, 843-585-5223. We have a representative standing by right now if you want to sit down with Amy and have a long-form conversation about annuities. So as we talk about it being an opportunity for guaranteed income in retirement, you've said before that should not be your only source of income in retirement. what are some other opportunities that present themselves?
Tools as you can use for income. There's so many different things. You can skin a cat many different ways.
Right.
There's income annuities. You can buy stocks, live off dividends. I have structured notes that are just for yield, to get you that income that you need. But bottom line, you got to sit down and figure out what kind of income are you looking for. When I think of income, I think of it's coming every month, just like my income did in the years I'm working. So a lot of times people get that confused because it's not every year you're going to take a $40,000 vacation, right? So that's where I try to plan out the actual income to meet the needs of living just a normal standard of life. And then also have another bucket of money. That's where the fun, where we take it out to go have fun with. Because as a lot of people when they first retire, they're in those go-go years, right? Yep. So they're wanting to go everywhere. They can't, they don't even need to unpack their suitcases. They just come home, put in some clean underwear and off they go again. But eventually you get tired. You get to where you've traveled, you've done pretty much what you want. So the spending will ebb and flow, but the income on average to where you need to live and function, that stays, other than inflation eating it away. And, you constantly have to look at that and make sure that you have enough to live off of.
And you've recommended that before, that you really want to make sure you have that income during the go-go years so you can go travel and spend more time with the grandkids.
I truly do. That's where, for lack of a better way to say it, Mark, it's like your last shot. It really is, to where your body is still cooperating with you. And that's the sad thing. I see so many people that their mind wants to go do, but their body just won't let them.
Yeah.
And so I really and truly push my retirees to let's seize the day. If there's somewhere that you really want to go. I was sitting down with a couple in my office last week, and they were sitting there talking, and she said, we traveled so much when we were younger, we just really don't have many places we want to go. But she's like, I really want to go to London, England. And he's sitting there all, I could tell he did not want to go to London, England at all. And I looked at him and he said, I don't want to go to London, England. I said, well, she wants to go to London, England. You need to take one for the team and go to London, England with her. But that's truly a lot of the conversations that we have here in the office is with couples. I'm like, go do it, because you might not get that chance.
I have a buddy of mine and this was years ago, but when his grandfather passed away, they did the same thing. The grandparents travel. I mean, for as long as they could still move, they were traveling.
I have some that are like that. I mean, it's like, how do you have the energy? I don't want anywhere near that energy. Where did it come from?
Because they've been working their whole life and they finally get the opportunity to go.
They've been bottling it up, and it's like a 2 liter of pop about ready to explode when they finally can go.
And when those grandparents, when the grandfather passed away, the inheritance that he left my buddy wasn't cash, wasn't tangible items. It was tens of thousands of Sky Miles that they had accrued.
Well, that's not terrible.
No, it was.
I'd take some Sky Miles.
And the way he positioned it, he said, I got to go have adventures and live my life. I want to pass this down to you so you can go have adventures and live your life as well. I was like, wow. That's a great inheritance right there. And let me give that number one more time, 843-585-5223, helping you build buckets, the playcheck, the paychecks, the live your best life bucket with the help of Amy Ross and the team at Gold Shield Wealth. You said something a couple seconds ago about people feel like they need permission to spend their money. And we've talked about it before, the spendophobia, where they have that fear that they're going to run out of money. So it's almost like you have to say
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. And they, and most people are not math geniuses. Mm-hmm. Most people, math and numbers intimidate them. So they look at this money and it seems like a lot, but they're terrified to actually use any of it. Yeah. And I get that because, if you think about it, you're not marketable. And I say this practically every week, but it's the same thing. I mean, you're not marketable for a job when you're in your 80s.
Yeah.
You're just not. And that's typically when the money starts to dwindle down. But, I am huge on giving my clients that permission to spend, but also having a disclaimer that if I got to reel you back in, you're not going to get mad at me, because that's part of the relationship that you need to have with your advisor. I mean, it is my job to not let someone cut off their nose to spite their face. Yeah. But, what I try to do is really sit down, talk about it, and find a viable way to make their dreams come true. Mm-hmm. Because, I love planning trips with my clients, with their families. That's one thing that makes me really happy. They miss that on that a lot. But those kids, those are the memories, and that's what they're going to remember.
It all starts with a phone call to Amy Ross. Take advantage of that full body scan of your retirement portfolio. Let's take a couple seconds to break that down, Amy. So what exactly does that mean? Are you going to put my portfolio under an x-ray, or what are you going to do for me?
Nope, no x-rays, no radiation in this office. But what I will do is rip it apart. And, in my healthcare days, I had to have things to a 2 millimeter accuracy. So that's just how my brain works. So I like to disassemble things, see where we're looking at, all the puzzle pieces, gather everything up, and then really sit down and have a heart-to-heart with you on what are we trying to accomplish? What kind of picture are we trying to create with all these puzzle pieces? And that's how I go about things. I try to customize everything to what that person wants and needs and out of their life.
I want to flip to some of the big headlines that are happening right now, because there was a ceasefire, and I'm kind of using quotation marks right now. There was a ceasefire announced, with the conflict over in Iran. When that happened, immediately, hours after this happened, Wall Street cheered. Stocks jumped. Oil pulled back.
Right? Like it never happened.
Crazy. And the market clearly liked what it heard. Now, that was about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. But economist Stephanie Pomboy tells Fox Business the reason leaders are in such a rush to wrap this up has less to do with the markets and more to do with Main Street.
It's a big gamble at a time when they were just starting to get some traction on the affordability argument in terms of slightly lower mortgage rates, lower gasoline prices. It's all completely reversed. I have this sort of my measure, the misery index, that looks at mortgage rates plus retail gasoline prices. It's back to where it was at the peak of the global financial crisis before the Great Recession. So it's a really big drag on consumers. So I think that is the motivating factor behind tying this up as rapidly as they possibly can.
So we've talked about it before. You can't time the market. We can't predict what's going to happen geopolitically. But what about the families you serve? Are you getting calls from people that are worried about these geopolitical crises? And more importantly, if they're not calling you, is that because you build a plan where they don't have to worry about what's happening overseas?
That's what I was about to say, Mark. No, not really, because I build my clients' portfolios for things like what we're dealing with. You have to, because it's so unpredictable. So no, I also believe in communicating with my clients. So I sent out emails explaining my thoughts, what I was thinking. But no, I didn't have any people freaking out, which made me really, really happy, because to me, that's a sign that I'm doing my job right.
So what are you hearing from the families you serve right now? I mean, we're always thinking about our tax strategy at Gold Shield Wealth, always thinking about income and retirement. But what are people calling you about right now, wanting to further discuss?
I think because of the tariffs last year and then this year, I'm getting a lot more people asking me for fixed indexed annuities. There's definitely an uptick in interest in those. That's one reason why in my dinner seminars, I spend a lot of time explaining those products and how they do work, because, essentially that is one place that you can put your money to where all this junk that we're dealing with, it won't affect you.
Right.
And, people here in Myrtle Beach, they don't move here to be stressed out and worried about the market.
Amen.
They move here to live their lives.
Amen.
And go to happy hour every day if they feel like it. So that's where, I would say that's one of the bigger changes. Structured notes are great for that too. I think I may be one of the only people in Myrtle that actually offer those, but those are great tools for handling volatility, right? Because that's what this is volatility.
Hey, a couple of seconds ago, we were talking about the play bucket. I know you're right in the middle of your working years. I know you're living your best life right now, but let's fantasize for a minute. What is your perfect vacation?
Oh, well, you know what, Mark? As I get older, perfect changes.
Yeah.
Right. So I will say this. I'm about to go this summer here at the end of July to take my family to the big island of Hawaii.
Nice.
For 8 days, in which we don't have a lot planned. We are going to fly over the volcano and do a few things, but I'm basically going to just get to relax and spend time and eat food and all the ice cream I want and all that. That to me right now is perfect. I think perfect changes based on the stage you are in your life.
Mm-hmm. Recently, my wife, Gretchen, she just celebrated her 50th birthday. And me and Caroline, she's 13, our 13-year-old daughter, we were putting together all the little presents and everything. And Caroline got really bent out of shape. And she's like, Daddy, we didn't get her enough. And trust me, because I was the one buying all the gifts, we got her plenty.
You got her plenty, right?
But I tried to explain to Caroline, I was like, at mommy's age, she doesn't need things. She needs us. She wants time with us. And I think that's the most valuable gift,
I've
Amy,
become
that you give
so
people.
sentimental lately because Corinne, my daughter, just passed, and she's my baby. You know, I have two stepdaughters as well, and Phoebe, you know, she's my bonus daughter. That's what I call her. She's 10. But Corinne, my biological daughter, just passed her driver's test, and I get to take her the next day or so and get her permit. And so I'm just getting more sentimental to where I realize that time just goes by so fast. So perfect to me is zip lining with the kids, you know, doing whatever I need to do to spend time with them.
Next week here on Fearless Finance with Amy Ross, I want to go over, as we're talking about summer vacations, I found some tips and some tricks on how to save money and, more importantly, how not to lose money unknowingly on your summer vacations this summer.
I think we should highlight that for these listeners. I think that would be very valid information.
All right, we'll get to that. We'll put that list together. We'll do that here next week. But for now, as we're talking about the visions, what's going to make you happy? Well, wedding season typically begins in May. So for those looking to add a little luxury to that celebration, I want you to hear this clip from wedding planner Anissa Coleman, who was on the Rich Lesson podcast. And she said,
for a luxury wedding, I had to put a minimum in place. So a minimum wedding right now for me is between 95 to 150. That's like on the surface.
Whoa.
Now, once we start putting in those bells and whistles, those numbers grow. That number sounds not realistic to a lot of people, but that's what it costs. You're seeing this. This is what people are spending. This is what they are doing. Your vision is your vision, so it's still going to cost.
I can't even envision a wedding of
That's
150.
insane.
God,
that is really insane.
Is she working with Jeff Bezos? What is happening
I'm not
there?
sure, because I'm seriously working with a client right now whose daughter is getting married, and he didn't ask me to pull out almost $100,000. Half of that, I will say, half of that we are working with, but. Yeah, Corinne,
Wow.
we may need to start saving for a wedding now on top of college.
Oh, I know. That is one thing about having a girl. I know it's coming. Like, we managed to, when me and Gretchen got married just down the street in St. Simon's Island, Georgia, we did the whole thing for under 10 grand.
Yeah.
I used a lot of radio connections. I actually had.
There you go. You bargain shopped it, didn't you?
I was the only person that at their wedding they had sponsors. Our koozies were literally sponsored by a DUI lawyer. It literally said on the back of our koozie, Mark and Gretchen 31211. On the back it said, if you had too much fun, call this number. And it was
That's
a DUI
amazing.
lawyer.
That's awesome, actually. I like that.
I know my limitations. But let me ask you about that. When you create visions for your adults, how often do they come to you with this vision of what they want their retirement to look like, but they have no idea what it's going to cost? Are they just kind of hoping everything works out? Is it a struggle for you to put these plans together when you don't really know their vision?
No, because that's part of what I love the most about this is getting down and dirty with people to where it's like, okay, you know, what are we trying to do? Tell me what you're thinking. Like, I really enjoy that part. Mm-hmm. That's why I spend so much time actually asking off the wall crazy questions, because you're absolutely right. Most people have an idea of what they want their retirement to look like, but they have no conceptual idea of how to really make it happen successfully.
Right.
I do crazy things. I'll have people collect receipts for a whole entire month or 2 months to see how much goes in your paycheck bucket, how much goes in your playcheck bucket, how do we spend responsibly. One thing that I also do, I'll look through bills. You know, it's all about using each dollar bill the right way, correct? You're on a fixed income. So that's where, just looking at things. But no, to me, that's my favorite part is really just honing in on what are we trying to accomplish? What kind of picture are we trying to make?
What do you find is the biggest surprise too? Because you helped build this plan and we got a lot of work to do. It's not all puppies and unicorns and sunshiny days. Some days, Amy, you got to be the bad guy. You're going to have conversations that maybe you're not happy, maybe you're not great, but the end goal, the result is to have that retirement that we desire and more importantly that we deserve. But what do you find that most people are surprised about?
Do you know what a lot of it is? And I've been running into this more and more lately is a lot of people don't know what to do with their time once they retire. So they don't want to retire because then they got to find hobbies and different things like that. And I've had about 4 people in the last 2 weeks that I could tell was struggling with, well, what do I do? Actually, I'm helping a gentleman up in Maryland retire right now, and I just got off of a conference call with him earlier. And the news, he was all excited because he's going to retire May 31st, and now he's happy because he was able to get on part-time with the university, and he can still teach his anesthesiology classes and work. And I'm like, so a lot of times people, they're at that age to where they can retire, but mentally, their mind isn't ready.
Yeah.
So it's all about, trying to dig out, well, why have you been saving all this money? It's like trying to find the passion, dig that passion out. Because a lot of times people, I think, are afraid of, well, what am I going to do all day? I can only do so much yard work, right? And then
what's the old line? You can only drink so many Mai Tais and play so many rounds of golf.
There you go, right? Yeah. But people sure try. I mean, I'm ready to give her a roll, aren't you? See how it feels.
You know what? I would love, but that's funny you say that though, because you often hear the term, and I don't know if it's a cliche, of test driving your retirement. What is your definition of test driving a retirement?
I think test driving retirement would be going part-time.
Yeah.
And I suggest some people, working with another lady over in the Greenville, upstate South Carolina right now, and she's in her late 60s, and her boss is like working her to death to where it's not even fair. It's affecting her health. Mm-hmm. And I think I might have actually used those terms on the phone with her, like, how about let's test drive retirement and go part-time, to see if you can step back and kind of ease into retirement. And that one of my colleagues, I think that's one of the things he says is ease into retirement or relax into retirement. Same concept, right? You want to be able to sometimes not go all in. Don't jump in the deep end all the way right away.
Right. And for a lot of people, have you seen this where we finally get there? We get to retirement. We do spend the first couple of years traveling, playing golf, sitting on the beach, doing nothing. And have you had people call you back and say, all right, now what?
A lot of times they just need to talk it through. I do have some people that come out of retirement. I've got quite a few nurses that, nurses seem to get antsy. That seems to be a pattern. It seems like certain type of people, when you're just geared to work, you're worker bee, and that's just what you've always done. A lot of times it can get daunting not having a purpose or something to do each day.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what it's going to be like in 15 years when I finally get there. My wife doesn't think I'll ever be able to.
I think I want to work till I'm 70. I enjoy working, I really do. But I've also had two totally different full careers in two major industries. And I know what it feels like to have a passion and be happy, and work now doesn't even feel like work to me. That's why it's easier to work too many hours. Andrew has to cut me off sometimes. It's like, it's family time, Amy.
Shut it down, Amy. Shut it down.
I guess I can't play anymore.
Speaking of working, I know that you're going to be a part of a great event coming up here, continuing education about tax strategies.
Yeah.
And I think it's just worth putting out there that Amy never stops learning.
Well, taxes are always changing, Roth conversion strategies and techniques. It's just amazing. I always look forward to this. I'm a nerd. I really enjoy learning, but we're going to spend a lot of time. I think Friday all day long for about 8 hours is going to be on tax strategies and things that I need to know to help save my people money. So I'm going to go get it for us, guys, and bring it back. I'm going to go to the big city again, get me some knowledge, and bring it back to Dirty Myrtle for us so we can use it.
See, for some of us, I feel like 8 hours in a conference room learning about taxes. Oh my God, no. But Amy hears that and she's like, let's go. Come on.
I enjoy it though, because knowledge is power. It just is. If if you know things, life is so much better. And so I feel like it's my job. Mm-hmm. I take that very seriously. It's my job to keep myself as educated and on top of things as I possibly can for people here, so that we can enjoy that money, and I can encourage them to go spend it and waste it, because that's what they've been saving it for, is to live.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Gold Shield Wealth Financial. Gold Shield Wealth is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Gold Shield Wealth Financial are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Gold Shield Wealth Financial and IPW are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Gold Shield Wealth is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Gold Shield Wealth. This radio show is a paid placement. Any and all services related to Medicare are an outside business activity and are not offered through or supervised by Impact Partnership Wealth, IPW, LLC. Gold Shield Wealth has a strategic partnership with tax professionals and attorneys who can provide tax and or legal advice.